We're anxiously looking forward to Zaman Simchasenu, the time of our joy. The Rambam Maimonides teaches that on every festival we're supposed to be joyous. The Torah tells us, "V'samachta v'chagecha," rejoice, but on Sukkos there is an extra measure of joy. We go into the Sukkah, and the covering, the fact that we go into the Sukkah reminds us of God's protection, that we are solely under the protection and love of God. There is a halacha, a law in the way a sukkah is built. The sukkah has to be what our sages called a diras aroi, a temporary dwelling. The roof of the sukkah, the schach, cannot be of a permanent building kind of nature. Even the walls of the sukkah, although they may be built in a sturdy way, but they can't be built very, very high. A sukkah that's more than 30 or 40 feet high is invalid because that's symbolic of a permanent building. The sukkah has to be considered a temporary dwelling. There's another aspect of sukkah, that during the holiday of Sukkos, we eat in the sukkah. If we can, we sleep in the sukkah. There are people who bring furniture into the sukkah. We're supposed to live in the sukkah. Rabbi Nissen Alpert points out that there seems to be a dichotomy with the laws of sukkah. The sukkah itself is diras aroi. The sukkah has to be a temporary dwelling. Yet, when we go into the sukkah, it's a kind of sense of permanence, the idea of doing everything, eating, drinking, and living everything in the sukkah. How do we explain this dichotomy? Firstly, our rabbis teach us that there's an inherent message in the temporary dwelling concept of the sukkah, to remind us of life, to remind us that we are here in a transient stage, that we're passing through here. We are building and living our lives in preparation for the world to come. This is basic Judaism 101. So I suggest the following to explain the dichotomy. The sukkah itself represents the body, the transient part of us. Our going into the sukkah and living there, doing everything there, that represents the permanent part of us, the eternal part of us. That is our neshama. And this actually is the core of happiness, to realize and to focus on, as we spoke before Yom Kippur, to focus on the primacy of the neshama within us. Sukkot is the festival of joy. How could festival of joy? We're reminded of our temporary state in a temporary situation in life, that life is temporary. That's happiness. Sure. Yes. If we remember, if we know, and if we feel, if we know that we have a soul, and our soul is eternal, and our purpose in life is for that soul to radiate, and that purpose in life is to connect to God, then that is Zeman Simchasenu. And during the holiday of Sukkot, we read the book of Koheles. In Koheles, Ecclesiastes, it says, Havel Havolim. There's nothing of value in the world. The only thing, Es Elokim Yirah, fear God, that's mitzvos of Shemar. That's value. We read it on the holiday of Sukkot because that brings true happiness. What is joy? What is happiness? The emotion of happiness, our sages teach us it is an expression of the neshama. It's an expression of the soul. If we recognize the light of the soul within us, then we can be truly happy. Wishing you and yours a beautiful, beautiful Sukkos. And let the entering into the Sukkah remind us of the components, our body and our neshama, our soul, the soul which is eternal, and the soul which is the light of our lives. Have a beautiful Yontif.